Hey guys, this is Mitch with Fine Point CGI, and today we're going to continue our horror game series and talk about audio and events. So we are going to build out a small level script that basically houses some events for that level. So we're going to make it so when the player walks down the hallway, the door is going to creak open, and we're going to have some bugs where the audio actually isn't going to play. So we're going to try to figure that out. And we also are going to set up a creepy laughter sound that plays when the player walks into the child's room, and we are going to do a little bit of audio editing. So that's what I have in store for you guys today. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first thing we have to do is we have to upgrade to the newest version of Godot Beta. Before we were at Godot Beta 5, now we are on Godot Beta 7. So just keep that in mind and be sure to upgrade. Now, something that I noticed is as soon as I booted up my game and I attempted to build, I noticed that I have a failed to build project solution. So that's good news. So let's go ahead and take a look at that and see what's going on. So I'm going to double click on this guy. That's going to open up Visual Studio here. And let's take a look. So it looks like exclude new Godot collection array. So it looks like it's taking in a Godot RID. So I'm curious if I can just say dot get RID. There we go. Is that going to take it? I don't think so. So let me try this. Just do a new array. Maybe not. Let's try this. There we go. That'll work. So it looks like it has to do with some kind of typing thing that got funky. So I think that will work. So let's hit Control S. Let's go back to Godot. Let's double click. All right, we got another one here. So let's get rid of that guy and dot get RID, and Visual Studio is helping me out here. And then I think we had one more. There we go, one more. So it says right here. So we'll pull this guy, this dot get RID, and there we go. And that should, let's see if we hit play. Nice. So now we can play. Cool. So we don't really need our test level anymore. So let's go up to our project settings, and let's just spawn us into our level for now, because when we're doing our debugging, we might want to actually play our level. So let's just do that. So we'll click this guy, and we need to actually move our level 1 wake up scene. So let's actually hit cancel, close, and let's move this level 1 wake up to our levels. And let's go to project settings, and let's change this over to level 1 wake up. And now when we hit play, it's going to play our game. There we go. And that looks pretty all right. Cool. Now, we are definitely going to have to change how bright this light is, but that's okay. We can mess with that. So the goal for this specific tutorial is we're going to set up our event stuff. So we're going to do things like being able to open and close doors. We're going to start our interface manager, and we're going to set up some of the horror game elements that you would expect in a spooky game. So first, let's get our horror elements, door system and interface stuff kind of settled. So what we'll do is we'll come in here, and we need to make it so that we can open and close our door. One of the big things we talked about in our actual level design was, hey, when the user gets to about right here, we're going to crack this door open and kind of let it swing open slowly. And for us to do that, we need to actually set up a proper door object. Now, first, I'm going to make this just a touch smaller, something about this. That's an actual door size. And then I'm going to find my door in here, which is probably going to be difficult. There it is. And we will right click on it, and I'm going to add a child node, and I'm going to add in a node 3D, and I will drag this guy out like this, and then drag my door underneath it. And then I'm going to click this guy, and I'm going to drag it out like this. And the idea is that we're just creating a small door, so we really just need to set up our door hinge to work properly. So normally with doors, the door hinge is right about here on the corner of a door. It's not on the center of a door. A lot of times people make that mistake, but it's actually on the far corner of a door. And then well, technically, trying to think for a second real quick. So technically speaking, if this door is going to be swinging open like this direction, then our node actually needs to be right on this side because it's the hinge between the wall and the door. And then it also needs to technically be out like this because it's pushing up against this wall piece and swinging out. And then we'll grab this little bit and we'll just kind of pull this guy like this so he can kind of match up. And then I'll drop the door underneath our node 3D. And then if we rotate this, there we go. Now I think I actually did it wrong. So, of course. So actually I'm going to grab this and I'm going to pull this guy backwards like this. So that way my node kind of matches up. And then I'm going to close this door like so. And now when we rotate our door to open, you can kind of see what we're working with here. Now the nice thing about this is when the user is walking in, this door is going to be closed and then it's just going to kind of open like this. Now, we will need this to actually produce sound, right? Because when you are opening up a door, right, we want the door to be creepy. We want it to make a squeak sound, right? Or something like that. So we're going to need to add that. So let's right click, add in a child node, and let's add in a audio. And we're going to add in an audio stream player 3D right here. And that's going to allow us to broadcast our audio out in a spatial manner. So the closer you get to it, the louder it's going to be. And that'll provide realism. We don't want non-spatial audio because in real life, a door squeak is not going to be super loud and we don't want to have an unrealistic sound. Now, also, we need an animation player to play our animation. So let's right click our node, add in an animation player like that. And currently this door does have collision, but it only has collision on our CSG box. So let's get rid of that collision. Let's add an actual collision object because this node might exist, but for us to be able to raycast to it, we're going to need it to be a static body object or a rigid body object. So we need to actually change this over. So we're going to right click this guy, change type and type static body. And we're going to rename this as children door. And that will give us a unique name that we can pull this from. And as a matter of fact, we're going to use one of Godot's newest features, which is the unique scene name. We're going to right click this and access as unique name. And that will set this as a unique name within this scene. So that way we can actually access this without needing to do any node pathing. So it's really nice so that way if we want to move this door throughout our node structure, we can, and it's not going to affect our code. So now we need to add collision to this. So let's right click our door, add child node, and add in a collision shape. We're going to add in a box shape, and unfortunately it didn't do what it did last time, which was automatically build out the shape. So we're going to have to build this out. So let's drag this to like this, and then let's pull this guy up like so, and then let's close this in nice and tight on our door like that so the user has something to raycast against. And then we'll drag this guy up, and there we go. And that'll solve our little static body because you can't have a static body without having some kind of collision. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work that way. So you have to have some form of collision, and that will settle that and make everything work well for us. Now, one other thing we need to do is we need to set up our animations for this. So let's click on our animation player and let's go to animation, new, and let's say door open like so. And then we're going to click add track and we're going to add in a rotation. And we're just going to click on our static body and we are going to come into our transform and set our rotation and click use Bezier curves and create. And then we can come in here and say, you know, whenever I open a door, it might take 1 second or maybe 2 or maybe 5, depending on how I am. So we'll just say 2 seconds, I think, for an average person to open a door. And we'll just open this up something like this, just slightly off of the standard 90 degrees. Because when somebody opens a door, they generally don't just open it up to 90 exactly. So we'll do that and hit go. And then if we just hit play, you will see that that's our door open animation. Now that might be a touch too slow. So let's bring this down. And I think that works pretty well. Now, we're also going to need a door close. And I know you guys are thinking, but why do we need a door close? And I'll show you guys why in a moment. So we'll hit animation, new, and we'll type door close. And what we'll do is we will go to 1, click on our static body, put a keyframe right here and click create. And then we're going to go to our door open and you'll see it snap open. And then we can right click our rotation. We're going to copy that value, go to our door close, go to the front, right click, paste that value, and then click on that keyframe. And now we have a nice close animation as well. Now, one of the big questions you might have is, why do we want to have 2 separate animations? And the reason why is because we want to have 2 separate sounds. When you open and close a door, the sound should sound differently, right? So that's something that we need to keep in mind. Now, when you guys are downloading your sounds, you can just pull them from freesounds.org. I already have a bunch of sounds built, and they are in the description below that you guys can just download. And they're from Freesound, so, just pull them down from me, and then you can have the ones I'm using. Or, of course, you can pull whatever sounds you're looking for right here. Now, I already have them. They're right here for me. And I have something like bedroom door shutting, door open, creaking, a creepy girl laughter for later. I have a door click open slow, door shut, stuff like that. And I'm going to pull all of these sounds right here and I'm going to drag them into Godot, and Godot is going to import them all. And now I'm going to grab these guys and organize our stuff. So I'm going to drag this right up here. There we go. And that'll basically settle all of our stuff. Now I'm going to turn on my audio so we can actually have this run through for you. And what we'll do is we will add in a audio playing track, okay? So we'll come up here, we'll click add track, and we'll turn an audio playback, which you can't quite see it because Godot doesn't like my ultra wide. So you can see I have an audio playback track right there. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to pop up and ask me what I am going to be connecting this to. So I will connect it to my children door audio stream player, and I will hit OK. And then I'm going to drag this guy back down so it kind of matches so I don't have a giant gap in my recording here. And you'll see here we can play audio inside of Godot's animation player. So the coolest thing about that is we can pull audio and use it for our project. So in my case, we are opening the door. So I have a sound for that called door open. I believe it's short. Let me see. Short open. It looks like it just didn't get pulled up there. So short open, and we can drag this guy in like so. And then you'll see if I hit play. There we go. And I don't know if you guys can hear that or not, to be honest with you. But if I check my waveform, yep, you guys can definitely hear that. So that is a way for us to pull sound while the door's open. Now, when somebody opens a door, they usually make a clicking sound as the latch gets unlatched from inside the door. Because when you turn your door handle, right, you're unlatching a mechanism and you're pulling the door away from the door frame. So you need to actually make that sound, or else it's not going to sound as dynamic. So let's add in our click sound that a door generally has. And that is right here. So we'll drag this guy in, and then let's go and drag this guy down somewhere to probably here-ish would be my guess. Yep, that'll work. And then we'll just kind of snap these guys together. And that works. Yeah, I think that'll work. Now, we may want to reduce the volume overall of this sound, but we do at least have something. It sounds decent, and it looks pretty okay. Now, same thing for door close. We're going to click on our door close animation, and we are going to add in a track, and we're going to add in an audio playback track, and we will set that as our audio stream player. And we will use the door shut sound, which is right here. So we'll drag that guy in, and you can hear how it shuts. but it doesn't have that oomph that you're looking for, right? You don't quite get that nice, door getting shut sound. And that's where the, let's see, JPK will bedroom door shutting comes in. So we'll just drag that guy in. And then you can see, which works pretty well. Now we can drag this back just about one frame, I want to say. Yeah, I think that'll be better. Yeah, that sounds a bit better. Okay. And I think that will work. Now we do need to adjust our door just a touch. You can see we can see through it. So let's do that real quick. Let's pull this over just a touch. And meanwhile, while we're here, right, we can just come in here, right click our children's door and set it as a scene. So we'll change it to a save branch as scene, and let's just name it door.tscn. Let's drop it into our scenes and hit save. And that'll give us a door that we can work with. And we'll just change this from children door to door. There we go. And that'll allow us to have a door base plate to work from. And it should still work with sound. There we go. And it does. Now I do want to zero out the transform on this object real quick. This is something that I've gotten into a habit of not doing very well, so forgive me. So let's zero this all out. There we go. And then save it, and then come back to our level 1 wake up, and it should be pretty good. Awesome. So now, once we have this, we have our door closing, we have our door opening. We need to create the exact same sound or exact same effect, but instead, let's make it slower. And what I mean by that is, if we go back to our door, we click on our animation player, we go to animation, we click new, and we say open slow, and we click on our door, and we click on our transform position here. Our rotation right here, let's set our rotation to wherever it should be, which in our case, since it's supposed to be scary, we'll make it so it opens up pretty much right here. I think that's fine. And we'll do it over the course of, something long, something like maybe 4 seconds. So we'll come up here and lock our rotation right here. So we're going to hit a keyframe. Then we'll come back and we'll set this to something like, I think it's 90, and hit lock like that. So it's going to open real slow like that. And then we need to really make that sound impactful, right? So that's where our door creak sound comes in. So if we add in a track and we add in our audio playback, we select our audio stream player, and we come down here for door creak. I think it's slow. So we'll drag that guy in. We'll bring this up here, and you can hear kind of the creepiness that we're kind of going for here. So if I hit play, which works. Now, I don't like that last little whew at the end, which is this little section here. So what we can do is we can come into our offset and pull this up something like this, and that'll rip that little offset off. Or maybe it won't. Let me see. Can we edit our sound? I don't think we actually can. We might need to go in. We make this unique, and let's see. Can I cut this out? No, I don't think I'm going to be able to. Let me see. I thought setting the offset would make a difference. I don't think it will. No, it doesn't seem like Godot will cut it, so we might need to do that in Audacity. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'll show you guys actually how I do a lot of the editing here. So if I show this in File Manager here, and I go find the door click, let me see, which one is it? Door creak slow, I think it was. So if I grab that, door creak slow.wave, and I open up Audacity, which is a program that I use quite a lot. You can see here's one of my creak sounds here. So we'll just hit new. That'll just open up a new window. I have like 7 windows open right now. So we can drag this door creak slow into Audacity. And then let's just quickly come in here, find where that sound is. So it's right here. So what we'll do is we'll just kill that. So we'll just hit delete and that'll pull that off. And let's see how that sounds. I think that works better. And we'll export this out as a wave. And I am going to need to find, is this the correct one? It is not. So we'll go to documents. We'll go to Godot Horror C#. We'll go to sounds and we will replace our wave, hit OK. And Godot will actually go and re-import this. And then we can grab our door creak slow.wave. We'll drag this guy in like that. See how that works. I think that sounds a bit better. I mean, we could rip out a little bit more if we wanted to be specific. We could come in and pull this piece out where it does that little end cue right there. But I think that's okay. I think that's acceptable. And now we'll save our door. And now we have a door that will, creep open when we need it to. Now we can get rid of this global accessor here on this guy. So I'm going to click on it right like that, and that will get rid of it. And then I can come into my level 1. Oh, I guess I can't. Let me see if I right click this, access as scene unique. Does that change it on my door? No, okay. So it looks like I did that backwards, and that's my fault. So make sure you reassign this and don't assign it to this, because then if you do it to this, then every part of the project that has this instance is going to be a problem, and we don't want that necessarily. Now, we also, side note, should set up different door open and door close sounds. So that way we're not constantly playing the same one over and over and over. Nobody wants to hear a door creak all of the time, but that's going to be beyond the scope of what we're doing right now. So we'll get to that in a future video. But what we can do is we can come in here and we can add in an area to create that sound. And we said that the player would walk to here and then they would have that sound be played. So let's go here. Let's right click, add in a child node, and let's add in an area 3D. Let's drag that area to somewhere to right here-ish. And the position of the area really doesn't matter. What matters the most is the collision. But I wanted to have it there just because it's, it's just good form to have it like that. And we'll hit shape, new box shape, and we'll pull this box shape up. And we don't want the user to be able to escape without hitting this. So we'll make it nice and large, something like this. There we go. And now the player will always hit it. And then all we have to do is we can click on our area 3D. Let's rename this area 3D child room door open event. And I think what I'll do is I'll start a naming convention of some kind for our events, because this is a spooky game. A lot of spooky games have events and things like that. So it's always good to come up with some kind of naming convention. So we could do event, or maybe we could do something like E underscore. That's not an E underscore, to say this is an event. It's up to you guys. I think I'll stick with the E underscore, and we'll head over to our node. And with events, we need some kind of global script to work with, right? So we can't just fire off an event and have it go nowhere, right? We need to run some code. So let's come up to our node 3D. Let's right click it. Let's attach a script, and let's just call it level 1 wake up CS. And let's get rid of our spaces, because if you have a space on your C# class, then it does not compile. So that's just something to keep in mind. And now that we have this, we have a way to actually start coding our project. So what we're going to do is, first, we need to hook up our event. So if we head back to Godot real quick, and we click on our little area, and we go over to node, and we say on bodied entered, and we connect this to our script. So we're going to right click, click connect, and then we will connect it to our node 3D. Let's copy this and hit connect. And then we'll say public void on E children, child room door open bodied entered. and we'll pass in some kind of object. Now, you could just say object if you want to, but in my case, I already know kind of what it's going to be. I'm going to say it's a node 3D. I mean, we know it's a player, so in theory, you could just say player, but I don't really want to do that just in case. And I'm going to say, so when something enters the area, it's going to go and play that sound effect, right? It's going to go and play that event. So what we could do is we could just say get node, and we'll pass it in as a node 3D. We could just say a static node or something like that, but I don't think it's really that big of a deal. I think we're good with doing it this way. And then we could just say, yep, it's a node 3D. And here's where the cool part comes in. So instead of us needing to go to node 3D, level BSP, and then come down here to child room, right? Or children door here. Instead, we can just grab this guy, come back to our Visual Studio instance, and hit %, and then paste our name. And then we can just hit dot get node animation player, and we can pull back our animation player. The nice thing about our little naming convention at this point is generally if we pull back an animation player, we know it's going to be called animation player. And we could just say dot play. And if I remember correctly, if we take a look at our project here, like so, we have our door, we have our animation, and it's called open slow. So if we go back to Visual Studio and say open slow, then that will work. Now we can just Control S, save it, and come back to our project and go into our project here. Come in here, Control S, hit play, and let's see what happens. Well, it worked. You can see the door played the animation, but it played it really early. And my guess is that it played it super early because we collided with this wall here. And you'll also notice that it's playing multiple times, which is a problem. So the first thing that we have to fix is let's fix playing the animation multiple times. That's unacceptable, right? So we'll fix that. And then we also need to make it so that this event only fires off when it's the player. And we have a couple of ways we can handle that. So if we head over to our Visual Studio and we only want this to play one time. So what we can do is we can just come up here and just say private bool e_door child room door open. And then we can just check for that. So we can just say if not child room door open, then run this. And then we can just say e_child room door open is true. So we know that it's open and it's good to go. That should only run one time now. So if we head back here and we hit play, you'll see the doors open. We come in, we go back, and it only plays it that one time. Now, the other big problem that we ran into was that you saw that the door was already playing before we actually got up there. And that really reduces that impact of that door. So what we need to do is we need to make it so that this door only opens when it's the player that interacts with it, when the player intersects with the object. Because my guess is it's intersecting with this wall right here, and that's just enough for it to fire off the event. And of course, we have lots of ways to solve this. We could come in here and just make this smaller, right? And bam, there you go, problem solved. But that's not exactly ideal. What if we have an enemy in this room? Or what if we have something like that going on? Now, granted, in this specific case, we could get away with that and it would be totally fine. But we always want to plan for the future, right? We always want to make sure that all of our stuff is treated the same way as we work. So what we can do is we can come to our area here. We can go to our inspector and we can go down to collision and change our collision layer. And let's just say layer 5 is going to be player only layer. I think that's a good layer for the player. And we'll head over to the player, click on its scene, click on our kinematic body, and let's just add them onto layer 5. And that way, it'll only fire off if it's the player doing it. So if we come in here and hit play, and I go all the way to the corner like this, you'll see it hasn't fired off. And then we walk forward. Now it's playing, which is good. Now, something that you'll also notice is for some reason our sound isn't playing, and I don't quite know why. So let's take a look at our door here. It is playing the sound, and man alive, is it loud. So that's not quite what I'm looking for. Our volume dB is fine. Is it because of our distance, I wonder? Because our max distance is 0? Let's see what happens if we increase our max distance to something like, I don't know, let's say 4, like that. We set this to something like 10. I don't think it's going to make a difference, but we can try it. Let's hit play. Let's see if that makes a difference. Nope, it's just not playing the sound. And you can hear it definitely play. I do think that it needs to be reduced in volume quite drastically. Let's do like -10. I know that it's not playing in the scene, but I think that, yeah, I think that works better. But I'm going to have to debug this, so I'm going to be right back and see what in the world's going on. Okay, so I don't really know what to think, to be honest, because for some reason, if I come into the code here, and I change this from a slow open to just open, which I've remade this piece of code a few times. So forgive me, I've been sitting here trying to debug this for like an hour. And for some reason, it won't play the audio, even though it'll play the audio here. And I changed these to open and close just because I had to remake this animation player, and it was faster to do that instead of door open. So you can hear where it makes that sound there. If I hit play and I run the game and I come over here, you'll see that it plays that sound. So it's definitely not anything wrong with the audio player or how we have our code set up. It's just something funky going on with Godot. So I think we're just going to need to move on, and we'll debug this later, and hopefully maybe they'll fix whatever bugs going on. I'm going to chalk it up to a beta bug and not be super concerned, and we'll just have to go from there. So we'll come back here and we'll just change this to slow open like so. And we'll just have to do that. And we'll just have to deal with the silence, unfortunately. Now, if we head over here, we also need to do the same thing, but for our actual child room. So for this room, when the player walks in, I have a sound specifically picked for that. And let me increase my volume here and let you guys hear that. That is this creepy girl laugh sound right here. So if I come in here, where is it? It's a standard echoey girl laugh sound. So we're gonna make that kind of like a distant sound. And it's a cheap sound, but it's not a jump scare sound, if that makes sense. And what I'd like to do is use that sound as a story element, less as a spook the player kind of element. And the idea is more of this player, part of the reason why this player is stuck in his dream, right, is to try to bring back his wife and child, and or her wife and child. I'm not sure yet, but regardless, somebody's trying to bring back their husband or wife, right? And basically, since this is their child's room, we're going to kind of have that sound as a way to signify a child or some kind of thing like that. And that might change to be more of like a baby cry or maybe something like that. But since I don't really have a child to record those kinds of sounds, I'm just going to pull this one and use it since it's a stock audio out there. So what we'll do is we'll just grab child room open. We'll just duplicate this guy and we'll just drag it in over here like so. We'll rotate it 90 degrees and we'll just kind of drag this guy in here. We'll come in here and say child room sound event, or I guess I have so I don't really need that. So child room sound, and we will come in here, disconnect this guy here, and you'll see that we can't actually disconnect it for whatever reason. And I don't know if this is a bug within Godot, but if we just come in here and click down here, we can disconnect it. We'll click on our on-body enter. We'll hit connect. We'll connect it to our node 3D. Let's copy this guy and click connect. And then let's just come down here and say public void. And then we will paste this and say node 3D body. And we'll go ahead and do some of our code. So the idea is just that we're going to play that sound. So we need to do the same thing that we did here, which is create a Boolean. So let's just copy and paste this and say child room sound played. And actually, I think we should just say event played. So let's control RR, change this to event played. That way we just have some kind of, general ecosystem here. Then we'll come down here and just say if this, then we can go ahead and play our sound. Now, when we play our sounds, we're going to want some kind of global audio system, right? So we need a audio player that's going to be used for any of our story elements or things like that, things that are not positional based, kind of like how we have our walking and our jumping sounds, right? Because that's stuff that's not going to be off in the distance. It's going to always be on the person. So this sound, the laughter of that child, is a sound that is coming from the character's, I guess, mental state almost. So we want to have it so that it's non-spatial audio. And we don't want to just create it for our level here, because then we'll need additional ones for each level. So what we should do is we should head over to our player and we should set up some kind of audio for that player. So we can just right click, add in a child node and add in a audio stream player and just call this the event sound player. And we can basically just pull that back from our player. So what we can do is we can do that, and then we can hit Control S, and then we can open up our script here, and we can come down to our player, or down to our event, and just say player dot, and we'll need to actually have some way to play a sound. So if we go into our player, we can create a function for this, right? We can come down here and just build a small function. So we'll say public void play non-positional sound, and we'll pass in an audio stream, and we'll call that a stream. And then we need to also control the volume. So we'll say float volume. Now, I know what you're asking. Well, why do we have this? We could just pull our audio player, right, from our player. We could just get the node and then go ahead and fire it off. But if we do that, we're going to lose a lot of control. And in the future, we're going to want to call out to our non-positional audio player probably quite often. So instead, we can just have this function here, and that'll allow us to have a lot of flexibility. So if we come up to the top, we can actually get a reference to our audio player. So you see how we have our foot audio player and our jump audio player. We can do the same thing here. So we could just have private audio stream player, that's playback, event player, and then we can come down here to our ready. And much like how we're grabbing our audio stream player here, we can just basically copy this and say event player is equal to get audio stream player. And I believe if we go back to our player here, we called it an event sound player. So we can grab that and paste it. And then we can scroll down here and just fire off that event. So first we'll need to set our audio, so what we are playing. So event player dot stream is equal to stream. And then we can set our volume. So event player dot volume dB is equal to volume. And then we can play our audio. So event player dot play. And that'll allow us to have a non-positional sound system that's going to work for us in the future. And we could actually add as many or subtract as many of these guys as we need. So if in the future, if we need to play multiple sound effects and have them overlay, we could, or something like that, and it would work. Now, if we head back to our level 1 wake up, we can say player dot play non-positional sound, and then we can pass in what kind of sound we want to play. Now, in our case, what we want to play is we want to play our child laughter sound, right? And we could pull this back with a resource.load, but if we do that, then it's going to be a little bit harder for us to organize our project. So instead, what we're going to do is we'll come up here, and I'm going to get rid of this ready here because we don't really need it. And we'll put an exported variable up here. So that way we can just set it in our editor and forget about it. So we'll come in here and just say export, and we'll put private audio stream child room laugh FX for sound effects. And then we'll come down here and just say child room laugh effects, comma, and then we have to set a sound value. Now, in our case, I'm just going to do something really, really quiet, so like -20. And we'll need to make that a float. And then, much like before, we can only play the sound once. So we can just come in here and say E child room sound played is equal to true. That way our sound has played. And all we have to do is just set up our sound effects. So you see how we have our little export here? So if we just head back to Godot, click on build, we'll let that build real quick. And then we'll scroll up, click on our node 3D, click on our inspector, you'll see we have child room laugh FX. And we could just come up here, grab our creepy girl laughed, put it right there, hit play, and then let's see what happens. Now, if we come in here, door opens, we don't get any sound because of the bug that we're dealing with. And then we come over here and we walk in. And it played. I think we have a bug. So let's take a look at this. So if child room plays sound, if not, then play the sound. That's more like it. So let's try that again. Let's see if that'll work. So we'll come in here. We'll walk in. It'll open up the door. Then we can come in. And it'll make the sound. And it only does it once. Now that might still be a little bit too loud. We might want to go with a -30 instead. We'll see. We'll have to do some audio balancing, see how it feels. But I think at this point we're pretty good with our event system. Yeah, that's really quiet. It's very faint. I think that'll work. It gives the character some creepy feelings, you know, things like that. And we're also going to want to put some background noise. The thing about places that as they exist is you need just generalized background noises. And we can get that from freesound.org. So if we head out to freesound.org, we come in here and say background noise, we can hear what some of the background sounds have. So we just kind of, that's definitely not a good sound. That's also not a good sound. So of course, we're going to have to try to find some kind of sound for our background. And so I'm going to run through a bunch of these and I will be right back. Okay, so I think I found a good sound right here. So it's a very simple sound of some creepy background ambience. So I think we'll stick with this. So I'm going to pull this guy down real quick. And I will put it into my project here like that. And then we're going to go into Godot real quick. It's going to load it in. Now, something we're going to need to do is we need to adjust this audio file because it doesn't quite loop, and we need it to loop pretty well for it to actually work for us. So let's open up Audacity, which if you guys have never used Audacity, Audacity is a really cool program that allows you to do some audio editing. And I'm not going to teach you guys all about the Audacity, workflow or anything like that, but I at least can show you guys Audacity is really cool and you guys should definitely check it out. Now, if we open up Audacity here and I go into the project right here and I come down here to grab my creepy ambience, I put it in and we hit play. You can hear that that's a pretty creepy sound and that should work. Now, you'll see that we do have an end right here. So let's grab this guy and then let's just delete it and see how that goes. So if I grab all of this, I copy it and then I paste it like that. And I drag this guy right up against this other guy. Let's see how this goes. So we'll drag this over. And let's pull this like this. I think that works, but I would like to do a slight crossfadey effect to this. So let's do this. Let's grab this guy. Let's Control X and let's Control V. And then let's drag this guy like this. There we go. And there we go. And that should help with that ambientness of it. And then for us to also kind of gain that same ambient feeling, we need to duplicate it one more time. And we need to pull this all the way back to the beginning, like so. So that way we get a similar amount of crossfade at the beginning. So then it should be a perfectly loopable sound. So we'll just kind of drag this guy right to the beginning like this. And that'll help give us that loopable sound effect. So what we'll do is we'll export this guy out as wave and we will save it and save over our previous one and mix it down into one, hit OK, and that's going to mix it down. And now we can go into here and we can right click our scene. And the reason why I'm choosing our scene over our player is because each level could have its own ambient sound. And that's kind of something that we're going to want to have, right? So we can just right click our node 3D, add in a child node, add in a audio stream player, and we'll check autoplay and we'll drag our volume down to something like -25. And let's hit play and let's see what it does. It's extremely faint and really hard to hear. So let's just kind of pull it up to -20 maybe. Let's see how that sounds. That might be too much. Might be not enough. But I think for right now, we'll stick with lower is better. So let's pull this down to something like -21 and we'll keep it at about -21 for now. Or I guess -22. Now, so at this point, we're about an hour into the tutorial. So I think we'll leave it here for right now. I was going to go into making an entire dynamic interaction system, but I didn't really expect for this to take about an hour to go through. So we'll pick that up in the next video. So in this video, we went through how to create event systems, how to only interact with the player instead of interacting with the level. We also talked about how to set up our audio stream and talked about some important audio things like a little bit of audio editing and a little bit of creepy ambient background noise and the importance of background noise. But that is all I have for you guys today. So thank you so much again for watching. I will see you all next time. Thanks.